Hello everyone, Darren Rawlings for Emerging Civil War. Now we're doing a special little video series for you that we're calling ECW Authors Get Illustrated. Over the last half a year or so, several of our authors, contributors and good friends have contributed volumes to a series published by Casemate Publishing in collaboration with Savas Beatie. The series is called Casemates Illustrated, and joining me at this time is Brad Gottfried. Welcome, Brad.
Good to be here. Thank you.
No worries, thank you. And first, can you please start by telling everyone what is the title of your Casemate Illustrated book?
Okay, that's an easy one. Hopefully they won't be so easy. It's entitled The Overland Campaign for Richmond, and the subtitle is Grant versus Lee, 1864.
Excellent, thank you. So would you like to tell everyone how you first became involved in this project, please?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short and sweet. I got an email from Ted Savas. Ted Savas, many know, is the owner of Savas Beatie. And some of you may be aware of my map books. I've written a number of map books. One of them is the maps of the Wilderness Campaign. Another is Spotsylvania through Cold Harbor. And Ted Savas, who was working with Casemate, recommended that there would be a series on the Civil War. And as he told me, he said he was looking for someone to do the Overland Campaign. And quote, "I can't think of anybody better to do it than you, Brad." So how do you turn down Ted Savas, right?
No, you
So
can't
I
do
said,
that.
of course. I couldn't say no. And I had a lot of fun doing this book, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yes, excellent. And so, was there any new sources, archives, or methods that you did, explored to bring a little bit of a fresh perspective to this narrative?
Well, thank goodness I had done the two map books. So I really had a pretty good understanding of these campaigns, this Overland campaign for Richmond. Where I did have to spend time, however, and where I learned a lot of additional information was the graphics. You know, my map books, they're all maps, they're text. I didn't have to worry about all these photographs and graphs and graphics from Library of Congress and from other repositories. And boy, did I learn a lot of good information just reviewing all that's out there in terms of, again, the photos, the graphics, etc. It really does help illustrate the book, having so many of these illustrations. And what I really like about this book is so many of them are in full color, which you don't oftentimes find in a book of this nature.
Yes. And again, was there any challenges you had to overcome along the way? I know you sort of like touched on a little bit there because you used to in your map books, but what kind of challenges did you find along the way?
Well, the biggest challenge, to be very candid with you, was Casemate and Ted wanted a lot of illustrations, a lot of illustrations. And the problem was, and it's understandable, they needed to be at least very, very crisp and very clear. They had to be 300 DPI or better. And sometimes it's hard to find those. You know, you can go on the internet and you can find all kinds of illustrations, but they're not going to pass muster because they're not crisp enough. They're okay on the internet. They're okay on a PowerPoint. But when you get into printed material, they have to be really crisp. And that was the biggest challenge. Sometimes I would find an illustration, I would say, wow, this is it. This is the one I want, only to find out I couldn't find a version of it that was crisp enough, that exceeded 300 DPIs. That was the biggest challenge, finding good illustrations that fit the needs of Casemate and this series.
Hmm. And what would you say was your favorite part of writing and putting this project together?
Oh boy, I would say just about everything. I mean, I'd written two books on the campaign. They were map books, but the favorite part was really to sit back and look at the whole campaign collectively, not in pieces, But from the beginning of May 1864, when the armies are heading for the wilderness all the way to the James River, I'd never really had an opportunity to really delve into the whole package, so to speak, if you know what I mean. And Darren, it really was, I think it was very helpful to be able to do that. I really enjoyed that. Number one, and number two, the editors let me use my own maps. And I was able to modify my own maps they let me use more than they usually do allow. And I was able to modify those to really fit what I was talking about, and those maps I had already done, but they were in a different context. So I enjoyed being able to modify those maps to really illustrate what I was trying to get to in the book itself.
Excellent.
So I would say that those two things I like doing that.
Excellent. Thanks for that. And on a personal level, what was it like for you, not just being part of this project, obviously, but also being able to see your name on a famous, publisher like Casemate Illustrated?
Yeah, I have published books with a variety of different publishers. Most recently have been indeed Savas Beatie, the map books. But I hadn't really done anything with Casemate. I'd done others, De Capo for my Brigades book, Stackpole, but they tended to be more, regional, national. Casemate is international, and I think that really is special to be able to work with a company that really is international in scope, where people, not just in this country, but in Australia and in England and other places, are going to have access to it and know that it's out there, not just those folks who are in the States.
Well, I'd just like to thank you, Brad, for coming on and talking about your fabulous Casemate book.
It is my pleasure. I love talking about anything I write, and it has been a pleasure meeting with you, and hopefully I'll get to visit you sometime in England. It sounds where you live is a delightful place. So you never know. And the same invitation is here. If you ever get to the States, love to show you around Gettysburg or Antietam or any of those battlefields.
Well, thank you, Brad. If you do make it over, you will get a very good tour, just like Mr. Mikowski did, and Rob Orriston as well. So the book is called The Overland Campaign for Richmond, Grant versus Lee, 1864. And of course, it is available from www.casematepublishers.com. And all that is left to say is we'll see you online and on the battlefield.